Hello, I want to talk today about Math Boot Camp. It's a program that we put together a couple of years ago. Dr. Littleton had been wanting to get a boot camp together for quite some time, and we finally got it put together in the summer of 2012. I want to talk a little bit about what we do, how it turned out, and what we have planned for the future. I want to apologize for not being there today. I'm in Austin right now. Hopefully this afternoon I'll be driving home and be back on campus tomorrow. So you can't ask me any questions today. You can email me and I'll try to respond. But if you have any questions, hang on to them and ask me tomorrow. I'll be happy to talk about whatever you want with the boot camp. 2 years ago, the university was starting the transition week program that they do now, the Texas Transition Week. The week before school starts in the fall, all the first-time in college freshman students come on campus, live on campus, go through all the student life stuff that they have planned for them, and now do the first-year seminar course thing. But we had an opportunity to put our foot in the door and get a scheduled time for a math boot camp in that week. And so we did. So they scheduled us a time in for every day, and we took advantage of that. And we said, well, let's take students that are underprepared in math, that are placing into developmental mathematics for the fall semester as they're coming out of high school, and let's try to see if we can do some good with them. Let's try to see if we can be any kind of influence on them. Let's try to transition them to the math classroom that they're going to be seeing, and also give them a refresher on the mathematics that they're going to need, and give them a chance even to possibly test out of one of the classes that they placed into, see if they can place higher than what they initially with. So we had two goals. The first being that we want students to succeed in the fall semester. We wanted to give a good enough refresher and transition to where they start out on the right foot, they get through their course the first time, and they can continue on from there. So we wanted them to give them success in their first math course. We also wanted to give them the chance to take the placement exam and possibly place higher in the developmental sequence or in a college level course, so that they could have a chance to finish even quicker. We had I had some concerns, and many of us did, about increasing their placement, possibly artificially, but we'll see in a little bit what happened with that and how that went. But these were the main two goals that we set out with for the boot camp, what we wanted to accomplish. So we took students that were first time in college freshmen that had placed into developmental mathematics. That's very specific for our purposes. We weren't looking at students that were maybe needing to get into trigonometry but didn't have the prerequisites, or calculus didn't have the prerequisites. We also weren't taking students that had already taken developmental math courses here. We were just talking about students coming from a high school into Tarleton that placed into developmental math. And so we were taking any of those students. We didn't just look at bubble students who had barely missed the cutoff, but we actually accepted any student that had placed into the developmental mathematics. We had two sections, split them up with Math 100 and Math 101, where the Math 001 corresponded to the Math 100 level, and the 002 corresponded to the Math 101 level. So we wanted to try and target certain areas that we felt those students were deficient, where they didn't have certain fundamental mathematical abilities, and so we wanted to try to strengthen those things that we knew were usually missing. So we tried to get students by advertising to all those who were eligible. I emailed out a lot of students over and over, called some students that I could get access to phone numbers for. It was a little bit tough because we had to charge them out of pocket. I couldn't include the $275 that we charged into their fall tuition. This was not a course. They were not getting course credit for it. So what we were able to do, we knocked the price down as much as we could, but it cost $275 for students to cover all the costs. That's testing, that's the cost of instruction, that's the materials, all the things that they need. It's all included in there. One of the nice things with our costs, since this was during transition week, we didn't have to charge for things like housing or meals or any of that other stuff, because that stuff was already taken care of. So we just had to charge for the instruction, the testing, and things like that. So the result is that students were paying less than half the cost of the course that they were going to be taking. Which is nice if the student was going to increase their placement. If there was any kind of guarantee there, which of course there wasn't, they just had the opportunity. But if they ended up improving their placement, then they actually saved quite a bit of money there by just paying the $275 for this. So this included one instructor and one graduate assistant per section. So we had a Math 001 and a Math 002. And there was an instructor and a GA for each of those sections. And the time that we had blocked off during transition week, we had scheduled 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock, Monday through Friday. So every day they were coming to class from 12 to 2. So they were spending 2 hours in class. We usually do 55 minutes break, 55 minutes. And during the day they were in the class, and in the evenings from 6 to 7 they came back and came to the computer lab and worked in WebAssign, which I set up for them, and they were able to get access to that for free during the trial. So in the classroom the teacher was teaching, the graduate assistant was assisting, and then in the lab time the graduate assistant came and ran the lab, and the instructor didn't come in the evenings, but the graduate assistants helped out in the evenings with the students with any questions they had. So we created, we took a look at the student learning outcomes for each one of the courses, the Math 100, the Math 101, and even some of the Math 107 student learning outcomes. And we found areas that most students are not coming in very well prepared in these levels for freshmen coming in, or from any students that we see. And we tried to target those specifically harder than others. And so the instructors were able to use those activities, things that they came up with in the classroom, to target those student learning outcomes, and then also had freedom to learn from their class, figure out if they were really okay in this area but needed more work in a different area. And so they had the freedom to do that. And of course, graduate assistants were there to help out however they could. In the evening, I created some enhanced WebAssign classes, some courses, and then put assignments in those that included both things that the instructors covered in the class, but also some things that they may not have covered in class. So I did a more broad approach on the electronic stuff. And the enhanced WebAssign was there to not only give them work, essentially homework in the material that they're looking at in class, but also give them a transition into the computer homework system that they were going to be using in the fall. And so it was more help to get them prepared for what they're going to be seeing in the fall. And so the graduate assistants were there running the labs in the evenings to answer questions. Also, they had been in class during that every day, so they were able to relate things from the lab time to the class time and just be there to help. So in previous years, what we've been able to use is the AccuPlacer Math exam. That's a pretty standard exam for students to take to place into college level mathematics. This year we have to use the TSI math exam. It's the new exam that the state came up with, and all the universities have to use it for placement. But previously we've been using the AccuPlacer Math exam. And when the students took it, they went in on Friday of transition week, the last day of the week, took the exam, got immediate results, went back to their instructor. Their instructor told them what those results meant, what the score meant. Did they improve? Where did they place? What does that mean for the fall semester? And then if they improved their placement, they came and saw me. We registered them for the right class, and then they started their courses on Monday of the following week. So it's pretty intense for that last day of the transition week, last day of the boot camp. But we got them all taken care of, everybody in the right spots. I mentioned earlier it's not a course. The students didn't actually get a grade for this course, which they didn't like that very much for a while. They really wanted the grade for something, but there was no course credit associated with it. This wasn't a 3-hour course or anything. It didn't count for any credit for the fall. It just gave them the chance to brush up on what they needed. And so there wasn't a pass-fail or a B, C, or D or anything with this intervention. But what we did use, we did take a look at the results of the Accuplacer math exam. So all the students that took the exam, they either improved their placement or they did not improve their placement. So they either stayed in the course that they originally placed in or they placed higher. The numbers, what we saw in 2012, we had 19 students in the pilot section, the first year. 19 students participated, and then last year, the second year of the program, we had 33 students in all participate. In 2012, we had 3 students that improved their placement from the Math 100 section. We had 7 students that increased their placement from the Math 101 section. And then in 2013, we had 10 students and 8 students increase their placement. Overall, if we include all the students, we had a little over half, 54%. They increased their placement by at least one course before their first fall semester began. So this is before they've come in, taken any college courses at college. They may have dual credit from high school. But before they come and take college courses, this is their new placement that they've gotten. I'll mention that 2 of the students in 2012 that started out in Math 100 actually increased their placement to college algebra, Math 107. So they skipped over 2, and they ended up making A's in the 107 class in the fall. And then in 2013, we saw the same thing. 2 of the students here increased their placement by 2 courses and ended up passing the college algebra class in the fall. So it was pretty interesting, pretty exciting to see those students do well. We had, like I said, a little over half of the students increase their placement using that standardized exam before the fall semester began. So the question goes back to, we wanted to help students succeed in their first math course in the fall as they're coming into Tarleton. And so what we saw are students that took the math boot camp in 2012. This is just 2012, that ended up in Math 100, 101, or 107. And in the blue, we see the students that participated in math boot camp. In the red are students that did not participate in the boot camp. One thing to note, you probably already noticed or probably already thought about it before we even got to this point, that students that are paying out of pocket, that are coming in a week before classes start and taking a math class essentially, probably a little more motivated than other students. So we might expect to see something like this just from the type of student that it seems that they are. And so this may account for a lot, if not all, of their success. But we did see success that in each case, for each class in fall 2012, Math Bootcamp students passed at a higher. We saw the same thing in 2013 for Math 100, 101, and 107. Now this included students that increased their placement and students that did not increase their placement, so I just lumped them all together here. But I really think that's a good question. Are we putting students that placed at one level, or are we just bumping them into the next level to then turn around? And so what we see on this slide are the rates that students succeeded in their course that they placed into for all the students that improved their placement. So we're looking at, in fall 2012, the students that placed into Math 101. Every one of those students that came from 100 and went to 101 passed the 101 course. Now I think this ended up being 2 students in all. 2 students, so not a lot of data points there. And also in 2012, the students that placed into Math 107, this is the one that included 2 students that started out in 100 that passed, made A's in that course. And then in 2013, we saw a similar thing where we had more students that participated here. Still, all of them passed the Math 101 course. And then we had 87% of the students that increased their placement into Math 107 pass that course. I'll also mention, I don't think I said it earlier, it was written up there, but I'm only looking at C's or better in the classes. So the Math 107, even though D is passing, I'm still only considering a C or better as successful completion. Students that are TSI like I was saying, students that are TSI liable have to make a C or better even in the college level course in order to become not TSI liable anymore. And so I wanted to look also at students that did not improve their placement. The last one was students that did improve their placement. These are the students that did not, that actually ended up in the same course. And we see some similar numbers here, a little bit lower in the fall 2013 Math 100 class. 75% of those ended up passing in the fall semester, and then 78% in the Math 101 that stayed in the Math 101 ended up passing in that fall semester, but still higher than the students that did not participate in Math Boot Camp. So just a couple of quick things as I'm wrapping up. I think I'm a little over 15 minutes. We're looking at changes that are coming from the TSI exam. We're going to have to take that assessment this year, so we may see some differences in students' initial placement and then the resulting placement after boot camp. We're also doing for the first time a STEM Foundations Camp, which is a boot camp for students that need to get into calculus or trigonometry, something that has a prerequisite, like engineering students. They come in and we're going to do in a similar format but a longer period of time to try to prepare them for calculus their first semester. And then also seeing more students involved in the Math Boot Camp in the future. Like I said, I can't take any questions right now because I can't hear you, but you're welcome to contact me tomorrow or by email if you have any questions, and I will be happy to answer. Thank you very much.